I promised this wouldn't just be a parade of elected officials, although we have tons of electeds. But in that spirit, I'm now going to kick it to one of my constituents, a leader who helped us get a good census count and then helped us achieve real equitable districts here in the redistricting process. And she's now organizing for January 11th hearing to lift the ban on rent stabilization. And there'll be two bills on the agenda. The bill that Rep. Oligardo and I filed, as well as the bill that Senator Jalen and Rep. Rogers filed. And I wanted to shout out Rep. Rogers. He was here for the first half hour. He had to take off. But without further ado, I'd love to introduce Beth Huang from Cambridge and from so many groups, DSA and others. Beth, take it over.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beth Huang. Thanks for the warm introduction, Mike. I'm a proud constituent in the 26th Middlesex, and I live in Wellington, Harrington, and Cambridge. It's so great to be with all of you, and I'm here just to share a little bit about why this rent control hearing on January 11th in the morning should be on your calendar. So rent control is an essential step towards winning housing for all. It's honestly the only solution that I hear about from normal people. So once when I was riding the red line with Mike from, I think it was a Right to the City Boston housing assembly at Viet 8 in Dorchester. I see Mimi Ramos and Sandra on my screen here. And, after a really powerful housing assembly, of course, Mike and I were talking about how do we get rent control. And after I stepped off the train, someone followed me off the train and said, "Were you talking about rent control?" That is literally the only time that anyone has ever said, "This is the policy that I want. How do we get it? How do I be a part of this movement?" So that is my number one reason why I believe that rent control is an essential part. It's because it's a policy that normal voters, normal people really, truly do want. And so we've made huge strides in the past 5 years. When I moved to Massachusetts just 5 years ago, you literally couldn't even say the phrase rent control in city halls or in the state house. A few legislators very quietly supported rent control. And then in 2019, Housing for All Champions, especially backed by Right to the City vote, elected a pro-rent control majority to city council. In January of 2020, Homes for All had 60 people testify in favor of rent control at the Housing Committee hearing at the State House. And wow, did we catch the landlord lobby off guard. I remember Mayor Curtatone and Mayor Rivera testified in favor. I remember there were residents all across the state legislators who testified in favor. We had city councilors from Boston and from Somerville and Cambridge and Medford testify in favor of rent control. And today in 2021, the mayor of Boston is the champion for rent control. At least 31 recently elected city councilors in gateway cities went on the record this year in support of rent control. And together, we can make rent control a top priority for the Democratic gubernatorial candidate in 2022. So as you can tell, we are building momentum and it is time to take action. The Tenant Protection Act, which Mike Connolly and Nika Elgardo have led in the State House, H 1440 has its hearing the morning of Tuesday, January 11th, time TBD, but it will be in the late morning, along with COVID housing equity bill that Homes for All is supporting. And so I have 3 asks to you. My first ask is to just write your personal story about why we need rent control. Your story, your voice, your words are the most important piece of how we're going to win rent control. The second is sign up to testify if you're available the morning of Tuesday, January 11th. And then third is if you're not available, just tell your legislator, write them an email, leave them a voice message about why you support lifting the ban on rent control. I believe that we have a pathway to victory. I believe that we can win, but we're going to need your voice and the voices of your neighbors, coworkers, friends, and families. And so I hope to see you on January 11th. Keep in touch with Mike Connolly. I'm sure that he will tell us, he will tell everyone how to sign up to testify. So I hope to see you on January 11th, and Happy New Year.
Well, thank you for that, Beth, and thank you for all of your work in so many different areas of policy.